What's good, y'all? Rich Sosa back in a building with another banger. Now, first things first, before we get started, I gotta say thank God for another day and another opportunity. And as y'all can see from the looks of the title and the screen, today I got a very special build in store for y'all. Now this one, I'm gonna be calling it the two-way swish build, but it's actually gonna come out to a two-way 3-level threat. Now for NBA players, this one does remind me of J.R. Smith. And as far as for our attributes today, we'll reach a 99 plus when it comes to our driving dunk, mid-range shot, perimeter defense, and our stamina. Now as far as for badges, we're going to be able to get a total of 64. 6 of those will be Hall of Fame, 15 gold, 28 silver, and 15 bronze. Now as far as for this build as a whole, I think this is a human highlight, especially when you take into account what we're able to do with the finishing. It's very overpowered and a very versatile offensive build. Now the defense as far as for the perimeter makes this build very strong and well-rounded, and the physicals are not weak in any area, and I think they can really body up smaller defenders that do not have any strength. So before we get any further, if it's your first time coming through, be sure to hit that sub button if you're new, smash that like button, turn on post notifications to be a part of the rich family, and last but definitely not least, comment down TG for thank God King Jesus and where you're tuning in from, and I most definitely will be sure to get back to y'all with a response. So the first thing I'm going to do today is put this build under the shooting guard position. Let's go with the height of 6'8", getting into the weight, leave this at 210 with the wingspan of 7'1". Now these are all optional to your own liking and preference, but for attributes and badge purposes, leave these as is. So I want to get started first when it comes to our physicals. So as for the speed, put this up to an 82. Getting into the acceleration, I decided to go with a 75. Now for the strength, I'm going to put this to a 74. And then moving into the vertical, let's go ahead and put this to an 84. Now as you can see, with the stamina, I'm going to put this to a 95. And with the Gatorade facility workouts, getting a +4 put towards these areas, you'll have an 86 speed, 79 acceleration, 78 strength, 88 vertical, and a 99 stamina. Now if you want to change anything when it comes to these numbers, feel free to do so, but I absolutely believe that this is the best way to start out. Now getting into the actual defense, the first area that I'm going to touch up is going to be the perimeter. So let's go with an 88 right here. Getting into the steal, I decided to go with a 75. And then for the rest of the defensive stats, I'm going to leave these as is. Now it's going to be crucial to leave the rest of the build attributes exactly how I bring them to y'all because of animation purposes. So let's get started with the finishing. Let's go ahead and put that close shot up to a 60. As for when it comes to our layup, I decided to go with an 80. Moving into the driving dunk, let's go with a 95. And as you can see, this is what's going to make the build very special. Now for our post control, I decided to go with a 75. And the badges are my favorite thing about this build today. Now I'll be sure to get into them once we max this build out at 99 overall. But you have a good idea of the versatility, especially on the interior. Now for the shooting, I'm going to go with an 83 when it comes to our mid-range shot. As for the three-pointer, I like this best at an 80. And then for the free throw, let's go ahead and put this to a 74. Now these numbers are perfect, especially if you consider buying boost. Also activating a sharpshooting takeover really will allow some of these numbers to reach those high 90s. Now as for when it comes to the pass accuracy, I'm going to go with a 77. Getting into the ball handle, let's put this to an 81. And then for the speed with the ball, I like this best at a 75. Now as you can see, this is what will look like maxed out. If you take everything into account, buying boost, activating takeover, wearing gear, you have a lot of potential to get a few different 99 plus stats. Now my favorite thing about the build is going to be the badges when it comes to the finishing. As you can see, some of my favorites will be Fearless Finisher and Dream Shake. You'll also be able to get Post Fade Phenom and Hook Specialist. Moving into the driving layup, I like Hall of Fame Slithery, We'll also be able to get Aerial Wizard with Scooper and Float Game. As for this build as a whole, I definitely believe that this is one of the main things about it. The finishing you get the contact dunks really allows you to be able to be more of a threat because we do get the pro dribble moves. Now as you can see for these badges, we'll also be able to get Break Starter. Other badges also like Unpluckable, Ankle Breaker, Gold Physical Handles I think is super special. We'll also be able to get handles for days. Speed Booster and Killer Combos, everything makes a huge difference with this build. Getting into the actual shooting, my favorite thing about this area is that you have just enough to be effective, whether you want to be a mid-range shooter or a spot up from 3. Now both of these ratings can definitely hit that 90s range. And as you can see, the ones that I like for badges are going to be Agent 3. A lot of great areas to start with and pick from. You even get open looks. Overall, I think this is a very special build. Anybody can just pick it up and find success with. Now if you count everything up for badges, we get 64. Overall, I really want to know your thoughts and opinions down below. Is there anything that you would possibly do to make this build a little bit better or change? Now if you want to do anything for the defensive end, you can definitely adjust that perimeter and try to put more into the finishing or playmaking. I think this build fits perfectly. Even if you were to take down some of the physicals to get more in other areas, I think that's another good option. Now as for the defensive badges, as you can see we get Silver Clamps, Gold Challenger, Fast Feet, Gold, 94 feet, and then for the steal, we get Glove, Interceptor, and Right Stick Ripper. I think this build for the defensive end we can definitely hold our own, especially taken into account with these badges. On top of that, with our physicals being at the minimum threshold of a 78 with boost, I think this is one of the best builds that anybody can really use and have fun with. Especially if you're looking to be an elite finisher and driver, this is going to be the build that you want to make. Now from here, let's go ahead and move forward. Now if you followed along every single step of the way, we should have gotten these 3 different comparisons, J.R. Smith being the first, and as y'all can see together, we have created the 2-way swish build, which does come out to the 2-way 3-level threat. Now I want to say thank y'all for the support. More so than anything, thank God King Jesus for another day and another opportunity. Now add everything up when it comes to boost, and like I previously mentioned, you'll be able to see the true and full potential of what this build can do. So before I get out of here, if it was your first time coming through, be sure to hit that sub button if you're new, smash that like button, turn on post notifications to be a part of the rich family, and last but definitely not least, comment down TG for thank God and where you're tuning in from, and I most definitely will be sure to get back to y'all with a response. And with all that being said though, I got one last thing to say. Rich out.